I started when this used to be called post-secondary enrollment options. Some of you might have even gone through it as students. It was a little easier then. If we had 10 or 11 or 12 students doing it, that was a high number. Now we're in the 40s of students taking college classes. So it's rapidly and it's really changing. I'm going to try to just go right down this, all right? Trying to highlight the major points. But let me stress to you, if you have a question as we're going through it, feel free to ask, all right? Now, my goal is, if you're not already understanding the program, you leave here understanding, or at least the nuts and bolts of it. And I'm always available to answer your questions as they would come up. You folks want to come around behind, like I have 3 stacks of forms over there. So I'll just go right down the checklist for you. And again, I'll repeat, if you have a question, please ask it. CCP College Credit Plus means that you are taking a college class, and in the process of taking that class, you're receiving both a high school and a college credit, all right? The whole idea of it is the state is saying, let's have our younger people get a jump on their future plans, and this is one of the few ways that are now being implemented throughout the state. Acceptance is the individual college decision. OU or OUL could accept a student, but Zane State College could say no, or the reverse, all right? So if you have a son or daughter or the student sitting here, if you're thinking about more than one college, you have to apply to the individual college. It's not just one application covers all right? And believe it or not, we've had students with as many as 3, maybe 4 colleges. And as long as they're meeting the criteria and the requirements, there's no policy against that. We had somebody move in this year, was taking CCP classes at Ohio Christian University, continued with them, but then with us, for the spring semester, applied and then enrolled with OUL. So there's all kinds of combinations that can't work out. What does the colleges look at? They review your GPA and courses that you've taken. They review your GPA in certain specific classes. For example, 3 or 4 years ago, a young man coming in as a freshman was accepted by Zane State to be a CCP student, but he was not able to take any classes that had math. That meant he could not take an accounting class that he wanted to take. That meant he could not take a particular math course or a course that they were offering. He had to wait a while. So you could be accepted, but then the college will steer you to which classes these students should or shouldn't take, all right? And of course, that affects the younger students more than the older students. Because the state of Ohio says this program is out there for grades 7 through 12. That's a young age for a person to start college classes. I'm not going to say it's good or bad, because that's such a strong personal decision. I'm just going to say that sometimes a younger student runs into that concern for a particular math class or whatever the case may be. They look at GPA in certain classes. They look at college-ready scores. For example, if you take the ACT, English 18, you're college ready. SAT 48, you're college ready. ACT Math 22, you're college ready. SAT Math 530, you're college ready. Now, students aren't going to run out and try to get the ACT or the SAT in, especially because they have scheduled testing dates. So the colleges have what is called the AccuPlacer test. It's a placement test, all right? For example, you're applying to Zane State College, you can contact the testing center there, make arrangements to go in and take the test. You're applying to OUL, make arrangements to go take the test. Will the scores get transferred between the colleges? Yes, I'll say that, but again, it's their decision. Now, I want to put this out there. I've always been able to have a rep from Zane State come in early June and give the AccuPlacer. then that way you do not have to think about going to Zanesville for Zane State or going here and going there. The only thing about that is you're waiting till June. So if you're one of those individuals as a student or a parent, and and what am I going to do? I want to do this. Am I qualified? Will I be okay? I would suggest you consider taking the AccuPlacer early through the college itself.
Sorry.
That's all right. That's all right. Questions on that? Yes.
The AccuPlacer, if you take it for one college, I assume it only works for that college.
Yes. They'll be transferable. The difference might be that Zane State, for example, requires, and I say Zane State a lot, and I'm not a salesman for Zane State, all right? The reason I say Zane State is we offer classes in the high school that are through Zane State. So we kind of have a relationship or a marriage, so to speak, between each other. Zane State requires a math placement test and what they call the writing placement test, whereas OU wants the math, the writing, and a reading. So, so I've had some students in my experiences, they've taken the Zane State placements already, but they have to go to OU all to take the one particular test that Zane State does not worry about or concern himself with. With the placement of a student, the college determines where a student starts, all right? That's very important. I have no input on that. My input on a student doing this is part of what we're doing here tonight, the application process, and then being that guide for you or that communicator between Liberty Union and your college or college. But everything in the end is their decision. To give you an example, we through Zane State College teach Comp 1, Comp 2 here. If a student has a B- or higher in Advanced English 10, they do not have to take the AccuPlacer. But if they have an A in regular English 10, they may require you to take the AccuPlacer. That's their decision. They look at Algebra 1 for math because our first math class is statistics, college stats. If you have a B- for better in Algebra 1, and you've been accepted, you don't have to take the placement test. Now, sometimes with an older student, they may say, well, he had a C in Algebra 1, but then he has an A in geometry and an A in Algebra 2. I think maybe he kind of took it easy his freshman year. But they look at those kind of things, all right? And my goal, as my role for you guys, is to be your guide. I want to emphasize that. Question so far, number 1. Number 2, cost. This is the one I always see big, small parents face. Cost is our responsibility. All right? It is, and I don't know the formula. And I don't want to know the formula because that would be something they'll tell me, now you have to be in charge of it. We should be losing money if I'm in charge of it. The state funding that's coming from Liberty Union-Thurston, so much of it is divvied up to the colleges towards the credit hour. All right? For example, a course taken here in the high school, Comp 1, the cost of it is $41. I have to memorize it. $41.64. That's very, very low for a college credit. So see, there's a math formula in there for how they divvy it up. The student and or the parent does become responsible for the cost if the student flunks the course. Because the attitude by the state of Ohio and really by the local district here is we should be paying for you to take the college course to receive an F. All right, and I think that's fair. Because the first thing I'm going to tell you as that person that's the in-betweener, I'm going to say, don't be flunking these courses. Because you are flunking a college course if you flunk it, and you do not want to start your college career off with an F. So I had to throw that out there so that, and it has happened, believe me. And I dread when that happens because I go to my administration, there's no administrators here, are there? I go to my administration and say, so-and-so received an F in this course. Well, let them know. I'll let them know. I said, well, thanks a lot. I got to call the parents and say, hey, guess what? So, but it does happen. So lack of credit or flunking the course can result in payment. Now the good thing about that is that there is a grace period that you can drop the class. And what we do with the courses that we offer here, I have to send the paperwork in as to when we start classes. But I always have our CCP courses starting a week after we start. And then you have 15 straight days to make that decision. Should I or should I not drop it? And sometimes the student may say, I think it's in my best interest to drop it. And there's nothing wrong with that, as long as you do it by that drop date. Dropping after that drop date means you're losing credit, which means then you have to pay for it. Questions on that? We pay the tuition, we pay for books, even though I think books are becoming fewer and fewer. We pay for anything that is involved with doing it with the computer. We don't pay for the computer, but you do have our Chromebooks already to use. A lot of the science type courses now have lab work done online, and there's a kit that goes with it. We pay for that. The only thing we say is, since we're paying for it, we ask you to turn it back in. For example, popular course is Intro to Psychology. I really can't think of a college major that doesn't require psychology. So we have a ton of students taking Intro to Psychology. If we have the book up in our library, we don't have to buy more. Now, if we have 20 books up there and we give out 20 books, and the 21st student comes in, then yes, we're going to buy an edition. All right. The thing that kills me is, and I don't know what your experiences are with college professors, about the time we build up a library, they decide to change books. But it happens, so we live with it. Some of the stuff goes back to the college, like the lab kits. So that's why we have to collect that. Some of the stuff, like workbook type material that you have to write in, nobody can use it again. So we don't worry about that. Application process, I'm going to come back to that one with one of the sheets I passed out. I'm going to drop down to number 7. And I'll say this again with the application process. Any male students that are 18 years of age when they're in a CCP class has to fill out or register for selective service. That's a state law, that's not Liberty Union. But I can also tell you this, if you're going to college after high school and you're going to do the FAFSA, which is the financial aid form, you have to do the selective service anyway. So you might as well get it out of the way. So if you're applying and you're already 18, male students, you might as well do the selective service. We've had this situation, a student applies in the fall, he's 17, no problem, turns 18 in the spring, they'll send me a notice that, hey, we're billing the student. I find out why, I tell the student, here's the email address, it takes about 5 minutes to register. And then give it back to me, your registration number, and I send it in. Questions on that? Number 8, as I said earlier at the start, CCP means you are both college and high school. All right? So you as a student will have 2 transcripts. You will have 3 if you're doing more than one college, or 4. You will have a Liberty Union High School transcript, and a Zane State College transcript as a college student, and an OUL transcript as an OU student, depending what you decide to do. All right, keep that in mind. The biggest thing I like to stress to students, especially younger students, you are not a high school student when you're working on a college class. You are a college student. And some of the, for example, Mrs. Whitaker has done our CCP math now since we started it here. I always tell the students, that's not Mrs. Whitaker, your algebra teacher now. That's Mrs. Whitaker, your college professor. And that means there are certain things that she does not have to do or worry about doing with you. Because college goes, and it goes fast. That's one of the things we run into with the comp class, with younger students, because the college English class flies. And the students will say something to me about, oh, I had that teacher last year for freshman English. She wasn't that way. Well, it's freshman English. This is now a college class, so I want to emphasize that. So if you get an A in a class, I'll use stats. You get A in stats, it's worth 3 college credits. So your transcript from that particular college would show an A, 3 college credits. But on your high school transcript, it would show Zane State College statistics, or whatever the case may be, A, 1 credit. The state's formula is any college class that is valued college-wise as 3 or more credits equals out to be 1 high school credit, all right? It's just, that's the formula they use. Questions on that? If you flip to the back side, I give you a breakdown of how it works. I can't think of too many. There's 1 class that's worth 1 credit. Zane State College, we have students taking online courses. They have a 1 college credit hour class the student has to take before they work online. And it usually takes about a week if the student sits down and buzzes through it. Basically what that class is doing is showing you their process for taking an online class. So it's only worth 0.334 as a high school credit, so you can see how it breaks down. Question. Now here's where it gets a little tricky. Number 10. Students are permitted 30 hours a year. Now that doesn't mean just flat 30 college hours a year, unless that's all they take, all right? If they're taking a combination of some college classes and high school classes here, I have to multiply that high school class by 3 and make it look like a college class. Does that make sense? Because it confused me when I first started doing it. I gave you some examples. This student is taking 4 high school credits. He's allowed 30 a year. So I multiply 3 times 4 for 12. I take the 30, subtract 12. He is allowed to take 18 college credits at the college. Now, what if that student wasn't taking any high school classes here? Then he could take 30 hours at the college. Is that clear? Because it can't sound confusing, because I will have students come in and say, well, he took 12 college hours, I should be able to take 18 more. No, I have to use that formula on each and every student. For example, English here is 1 credit. 1 times 3 is 3. Health is a half a credit, 0.5 times 3. Ag science is 1.25. It's 1.25 times 3. And then once I get that number, I have to subtract it from 30. I'm really proud of our students about this, because I think, and I say this to the other affairs that I've talked to, I always hear a lot of negative stuff about young people, maybe you do too. We have some really good students here. I felt like I was collecting for Liberty Union-Thurston for the last 4 weeks, because students pay for the hours that they go over that 30. And I'll bet for the spring semester, I'll bet I collected money off 15 students who decided it was to their advantage to pay extra money and get college credits here. And it is when you think about it, because a straight up OUL credit is $166.65. Now, what I do to help the students out, and again, I'll make sure there's no administrators here, I look at the courses they're taking here, and I count those courses as the credits they're over. So then I only owe $41.64 per credit hour. Now, if the student is straight up OUL and goes over, then it is $166.65. So it can get expensive. But 2 or 3 years ago, we had a young man took every real estate class you could think of in college. Every once in a while, I get a phone call. He's asking if I'm selling my house or if I want to buy a house. I mean, he said, man, I want to jump on this. So he took all his real estate classes, and then he's at Ohio State in business. So, I mean, and that's what I go back to about we have a lot of really good students and a lot of really good young people in this building. And when you're running a program like this, you really stay. You know, I'm not dealing with a suspension or skipping or anything like that. I'm dealing with students sitting down saying, how can I get an extra class? That's neat, believe me, it really is. That's also a compliment to you guys for kind of kids could have. Impact on graduation. I always jokingly say, I don't want you taking a ton of college classes and then you're sitting with me at commencement. You still have to graduate from college, or excuse me, high school. Now, you can use the college classes to meet graduation requirements, all right? For example, if a sophomore, I'll use a junior, if a junior took Comp 1 in the fall, that can be his or her English 11. Then he or she took Comp 2 in the spring, that's that individual's English 12. So, it does count for graduation credits. It can also be used for the diploma with honor. There's no ruling that says it has to come from a high school class. All right? For example, you have to take world history, and American government, and you need a 4th social studies for the honors diploma. A lot of students will take that sociology or that psychology because, again, that's a social studies class. That all can be worked out. The only courses you cannot take are phys ed classes. And again, the state of Ohio says we're not doing this. A few years ago, before they came up with these particular rules, they'd have a student taking archery for his phys ed. I mean, he was meeting his phys ed requirement. The state says no to that. Now, you can take all kinds of fine arts classes. You can take any particular art or music classes, things of that nature. But you cannot take phys ed. Questions on that? Athletic eligibility. Just, if you would, by show of hands, who's an athlete in here? Okay, this is important to you, all right? And I try to sit down with you and make sure we're on the same page when it becomes your season. A class in college, a 2-credit hour or more class in college for eligibility purposes counts double. That doesn't mean you're going to get the credit twice, but I can count it double when I'm counting up your eligibility credits, all right? And the state, I think it's fair, they say that for 2 reasons. One, these classes should be more difficult, so maybe you need some free or flex time to do your work. And number 2, until online college classes became so popular, students were going to the campus. And of course, you have to allow for travel time. So, for example, a student could have 4 college classes, 2 credits or higher, so I'll just say they're 4 3-hour classes. Instead of saying that's only 4 classes, that's actually 8 classes for eligibility. Everybody good on that, athletes? Now, that doesn't mean, again, that you're getting 8 credit hours, but I'm allowed to go 1, 2, 3, 4 when I'm counting up to make sure you're eligible. And that's good for the student athletes. Questions on that? I already mentioned 13 about we'll have 2 transcripts or 3, depending on what you do. Number 14, this is important for parents. Right now, you can call your son or daughter's English teacher, math teacher, history teacher. You can get on Progress Book and look what's going on. With CCP classes, that doesn't happen. They do not get a first quarter grade, a second quarter grade. They sent me a list at the end of the semester of final grade. So if a person had an A, I say, well, 95 is the middle of the road A. So that person gets a 95 first quarter, a 95 second quarter, a 95 for final. Now, if you're worried about how your son or daughter is doing, you can't just call me or call the administration or call the teacher. You have to complete what is called the FERPA. And if you see it there on number 14, Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act. And that sounds strange to me as it may to you because it could be a 14, 15-year-old student. But by law, he or she's a college student. So in order for you to talk with the teacher, like to say to Mrs. Whitaker, if your son or daughter's in her math class, how's he doing? What's he not doing? You have to have completed that purpose, all right? I always have those forms in my office. And like, for example, more and more colleges actually have it right online where you go when you create your account to apply. Questions on that? Possible schedule conflicts. In the end, the high school wins. If there's a conflict and you tell me, well, I don't want to take that class because I want to take this class at college. If you're a senior, and I'm telling you, you need our class here in the high school to graduate, that's the class that stays on your schedule. So I always tell the students, have a couple of ideas of what you want to take. For example, a student that comes in and says, I want to take psychology or sociology. Or, there's 2 or 3 different kinds of psychologies offered. I have these 2 as possibilities. Or I like history, so I want to take this American history class, or this American history class, or this American history class. Have a couple of options, so if there are conflicts, we can work them out. I'm in and out through the summer. So before you hit that final button, that submit, so to speak, give me a call and make sure that we get together and look at what you want to take. I might even look at what you want to take to college and say, for example, somebody takes American national politics. Ooh, you can contact the government. You know how to take government in high school. So, make sure we're talking to each other, so to speak. Transportation, if you're doing a class at OUL, we've had students doing classes at COTC. If you're doing classes that involve transportation, we do not transport. That's the student parent's responsibility. If there's any parents in here with a 7th grader next year that wants to come to the high school, right now I can say we do not transport. Now we've been very fortunate so far, and I don't want to jinx us, but the last couple of years, the way schedules worked out, middle school schedule, high school schedule, buses, we have been able to transport. But I can't tell you that's always going to work out. You know how that can be. Support service, you're looking at it in the high school. I'm your support service. As a student, if you're having a problem, I'm it. For the whole building, for all the classes, for all the students. If you're having a problem, come and see me. Don't wait till it's too late. At the college, you will have a college advisor, a contact person. For example, at Zane State, I know the lady by name and everything, because she's the one that comes in here in June and does the placement testing, the active placer, Amanda Poland. That's your contact at Zane State. And then if it has to go to somebody in a particular academic area, she'll direct it to that person. Lastly, and then I'll go to the application process, CCP courses taught here in the high school. Just to let you know how much we've grown. Zane State, we offer Comp 1, Comp 2. We offer college statistics, college algebra, college pre-calculus, college calculus. Columbus State Community College, we offer Spanish 1, Spanish 2. And wishing, and I just had an email from Miss Iola, our Spanish teacher, wishing we could get the Spanish 2 to grow a little bit. We get a really good number for Spanish 1, because a lot of students are thinking that's my 3rd year of Spanish now. But really, if you have a chance to get 2 years or 2 courses under your belt, that's 8 credits, because 4 of mine was 4 credits each. Take advantage of that. University of Cincinnati, through Mrs. Lehman, our computer program, we offer 2 classes that you can get college credit through Cincinnati in their computer area. And then on top of that, as a student, when you graduate, if you choose to go to the University of Cincinnati in computer technology, they give you college credit for some of the regular high school courses you took here. So we have a pretty good relationship with them, and hopefully that grows a little bit. I think I mentioned them all that are in the building. Down at the bottom, the state requires me to give you a free career search tool. www.ohio means job. That tells a student a lot. For example, you're thinking you want to be an architect, you can get on, and what colleges in Ohio have architectural? What colleges anywhere have it? What's the starting salary? How many years do I have to go? So it is a good career tool search, especially for a younger student who is maybe real not sure yet. April 1st, all forms have to be turned in. April 1st is our spring break week, correct? And I'll tell you right now, I'm not coming in and sit in my office for you to give me forms. I'll take them 3 o'clock, April 6th. That's the Monday after Easter. all right? And if I'm in a real good mood, I can even wait till the next morning. But I can't wait much past the morning of April 7th, okay? So if you decided to do this when I explain the forms, get them in. Questions on that? April 6th or the morning of April 7th? And the only reason I just keep April 1st on there is I don't put the year on these anymore because I run them off the have. I don't want to keep every year running 100 new forms if I still have the staff. Any questions on this? Yes?
Not specifically. So the classes, if they're taking them, are they only during the school year, or do they take classes over the summer?
You can take one summer class during the second session. And the reason it's during the second session, most college first session classes start while we're still in school in May. And also, I say a class because if you're familiar with summer school in college, it's an abbreviated period and it goes real fast. The other thing with that is that counts towards your 30 for the upcoming school year. So if a student will take a 3-hour class this summer, when they come in September, they're only eligible for 27. Any other questions? Next thing I want to look at is the page or pages that have 3 forms. They're the forms that have to be turned in by early April. Excuse me a minute, please. The first one says college credit plus advising and risk acknowledgement. Don't worry about the fact that it says ain't state at the top. I had a stack of them, so I wasn't going to waste them. It's a form that applies to college credit plus in general. If you decide to use any state, they're going to have you do this online anyways for them. Basically, what you're signing with this form is everything that's highlighted there. And it centers around this meeting, all right? You've been advised, you've been told, you understand. The biggest thing I'll emphasize to you, you understand that if you have a question, you can contact me. That's the first page. The second page is from the Department of Higher Education. It's called Mature Content. With you as a student and one of your parents, you are signing that you both agree that the student is mature enough to handle this, all right? And I'll tell you where that can come into play. Now think about this scenario, for example. Your 10th grade son or daughter is taking a class at OUL and sitting next to a traditional college student of 19 or 20 years of age. And this happened a few years ago when there was smoking on campus. The young guy in college was trying to be Mr. Cool with the young lady from high school. So they were on a break and, hey, you want a cigarette? And the college professor happened to walk over and tap him on the shoulder and you realize you're talking to a sophomore in high school. So maturity is a big part of this, all right? So take it seriously. The other thing I can mention about maturity is, what if you only have college classes Tuesday and Thursday? Or what if you're doing online and you can work at your own pace? You know how easy it is to say, oh, I'll do it tomorrow. Oh, I'll do it tomorrow. And all of a sudden, tomorrow's next week. That's the maturity factor. You know, you're on your own a lot when you're a college student. And I know there are some parents in here that have had a son or daughter either in it right now or are going through it or have gone through it, and they understand what I'm saying for that. There's a lot of personal responsibility. And the third page is my generic page for me. I need to get an idea of what you're thinking. For example, letter A. If you're thinking OUL, COTC, OSU New York, Columbus State, none of the classes that are here. What are you thinking? Letter B, it says only Zane State College courses offered here. That should also include Columbus State and Cincinnati. So letter B, you're only going to take the courses that are offered here. I didn't redo this for you. All right, we good on that, Doug? Then letter C is what if you want to do a combination, like a lot of students. You know, they want to take Columbus State Spanish here, but they want to take Comp 1 online there, that kind of thing. All right? So I just use this as my guide as to what I need to be thinking about as I'm putting together with the administration the master schedule for school here, plus when I talk to the student. Questions on the forms? These are the forms that I have to have in early April. And the last page we look at is the application process. I, in previous years, never I did not give the form out like this. I used to tell the students, you have to get the form from me in my office. And then I got to thinking, well, you have it in front of you, then you can come to me with questions. I gave you the application process for Zane State. I chose the schools that our students do the most. The application process for Zane State, the application process for OUL. On the flip side, the application process Columbus State, OSU Norton, and COTC. Follow those steps, all right? You'll find it, and maybe you're seeing that even in your jobs today. So much is online now with very little paper. And that's what you'll find if you pursue these. Now here's two catches for the students. See where it says your name and then it says SSID? I can't put your SSID on and pass it out because look at the variety of people that are here. I wouldn't know who to give it to. You have to see me to get that SSID. All right? Some of you might have it memorized because you use it for state testing, I believe. That's your state identification number, student state identification. All right, and the application will want you to have that on. Now, I will not send a transcript in until I have the forms that I passed out today. So if a student walks in tomorrow and says, hey, I applied to OUL, well, I don't have your form yet, so I can't send you a transcript. That's your last step in applying. You ask me or email me to send you a transcript. All right? It's not that some students may ask for a transcript to use while they're filling out their application. That's great. But as far as one going to the college, it has to come from me. It has to come from the high school. Now, OU also has what is called the signature page. And I'll give you that signature page if you walk in my office and say, hey, I applied to OU. Or you can also get it online. Copy it online, but I have a stack in my office. Just make sure if you're going OU, the signature page says 2627, because they still have the page up that says 2526 also. Because last year that happened, and I had to hunt students down and say, yeah, redo the signature page. Signature page is the student signature, a parent signature, and then when you turn it into me, my signature with your transcript. All right? Are we good on the application process? I had problems, when I say I should say the students last year had problems. I'm not sure. Dirk, am I saying this right? iCloud. Dirk back here. Technology. I think it's a system for getting on the computer with iCloud. Does anybody have that by chance? Anyway, students were having trouble with that. All right. So I suggest if you have iCloud, see if there's another person or individual that you can use. I would also advise you to try to avoid using as a student your college your high school email addresses. All right, you want to use your personal address or a parent's address. And that's my presentation, and I'll take any questions. How do you do that? Where what is?
Can we schedule a point of view to talk about where we should apply? Like what we think is better?
You can always talk to me about where to apply, but in the long run, that becomes such a personal decision. What grade level are we talking about?
We'll be in 8th grade next year.
8th grade next year. Are you thinking about you want to do the classes here in the high school, or are you thinking about you want to try to pursue online classes for right now? Or both?
Maybe both.
And I would suggest, if you're thinking both, I would start with Zane State, because that's the classes we offer here, plus they do have online. Because of his age, I would stay away from the on-campus courses yet, because obviously he's not driving yet. Any other questions? Yes?
If we do the CCP at the middle schooler, I know we were talking about if you get college and high school credit, does that same, I mean, how does that work?
In other words, if a student takes Comp 1 as an 8th grader, that would come, I would put that on high school transcript. That could be equivalent to his English or her English 9.
Okay.
That's no different than we have a number of middle school students that take Algebra 1 as 8th graders. They get high school credit for that. So that's no different than that.
Would it still reflect, I guess, on their middle school grade card as well?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so, because the middle school hands are totally out of this. And that's a good question. I can check with Mr. Turner or Mrs. Fox to see if, when I get grades, if I send it to them, do they put it on. I think if they're taking courses here, it may go on because it's on their schedule here. But like when they're taking a class, maybe online, it's on their schedule, but just shows it as 0 hour, which means it's really not here. But I can look into that. Any other questions? Well, let me say my Thursday meeting before I say get out of here if you want to. I have a Thursday morning meeting. I do it for 2 reasons. Any parents that could not make this one, maybe because of job commitments. But I also say this to you folks that are here now. You're welcome if questions come up, or students, if questions come up, you can come to that meeting 7:30 Thursday morning. And when I tell people, if you're coming just for a question to get answered, as soon as you get your question answered, leave. You don't have to sit here through a presentation. I was just telling Dirk, I just called out the meeting was still here. One of the years I had a morning meeting and only one parent was here. And that particular parent was at the evening meeting. But it was great. She sat there, I pulled a chair up and sat here. She got all her questions answered. So I'm going to be here, whether it's one parent, one student, or the auditorium. So if you think you have to come back and question, door's open. Anything else? We good on everything? Well, thank you for attending, and I'll hang around up front here if you have any questions.